What if the hour you spend at the gym every morning isn't protecting you from the damage happening the other 23 hours of the day? What if the problem isn't how much you exercise, but how much time you spend completely still? This is one of the most uncomfortable findings in recent health research, and it applies to millions of Americans who consider themselves active, health conscious, and doing the right things. Researchers have a term for it: sedentary behavior. And the science now shows that prolonged sitting, independent of how much you exercise, is associated with significantly higher rates of cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, cognitive decline, and early mortality. Today, we're going to walk you through exactly what prolonged sitting does to your body after 50, why the damage accumulates even in people who exercise regularly, and what the research shows is the most effective way to counteract it. Because the solution here is not more exercise, it's something most people haven't considered. For decades, the public health message has been clear: get your 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week, and you're doing what you need to do. That guidance is not wrong, but research has revealed a critical gap in that message. Exercise and sedentary behavior are not simply opposites on the same spectrum. They are independent variables with independent effects on health. You can be a regular exerciser and still be highly sedentary. And the sedentary behavior carries its own risks, largely separate from the benefits of exercise. A large-scale analysis of data from more than 1 million people found that the mortality risk associated with high levels of sitting was not fully offset by regular physical activity. People who sat for 8 or more hours per day had significantly elevated health risks, even when they met standard exercise recommendations. For adults over 50, this matters more. After midlife, the body's ability to recover from prolonged inactivity is reduced. Metabolic flexibility declines. The cardiovascular system becomes more sensitive to sustained stillness. And cumulative damage from years of sedentary patterns begins to compound. So what is actually happening in your body when you sit for extended periods? The first thing that changes is blood flow. Within minutes of sitting, the large muscles of the lower body become inactive. Blood flow to the legs slows significantly. The endothelial cells lining blood vessels begin to experience reduced shear stress. Within 30 minutes of uninterrupted sitting, measurable changes in vascular function have been documented. Over hours, this reduced blood flow contributes to inflammation, elevates triglycerides, and impairs the body's ability to clear glucose from the bloodstream. A single day of prolonged sitting produces measurable increases in blood sugar and insulin resistance. Over weeks and months, these effects accumulate into chronic metabolic dysfunction. The second effect is on the musculoskeletal system. Prolonged sitting places the hip flexors in a shortened position, the glutes in an inhibited state, and the lumbar spine under sustained compressive load. Over time, this produces muscular imbalance, reduced mobility, and chronic low back and hip pain. The postural muscles that support the spine become deconditioned, gradually eroding the ability to move efficiently and without pain after 50. The third effect is on the brain. Research has found that sedentary behavior is independently associated with thinning of the medial temporal lobe, the brain region that includes the hippocampus and plays a central role in memory. A study found that more hours of sitting per day was associated with greater thinning in this region, even in people who exercise regularly. The fourth effect is cardiovascular. Prolonged sitting is associated with increased arterial stiffness, elevated blood pressure, higher triglycerides, and reduced HDL cholesterol, a risk profile that compounds over time and is not fully reversed by exercise sessions, however vigorous. Now here's the key insight that changes how you think about this. The problem is not total sitting time in isolation. The problem is prolonged, uninterrupted sitting. Research has consistently found that breaking up sitting time, even with brief, low-intensity movement, produces disproportionately large benefits relative to the amount of activity involved. A study found that breaking up 3 hours of sitting with 5 minutes of light walking every 30 minutes reduced post-meal blood sugar by 26% compared to uninterrupted sitting. Brief movement breaks every 30 minutes also improved vascular function, reduced inflammatory markers, and improved cognitive performance, with benefits appearing within a single day. The mechanism is straightforward. Muscle contraction, even gentle contraction, activates metabolic processes that sitting suppresses. It stimulates blood flow, triggers glucose transporter activity, and promotes production of lipoprotein lipase, an enzyme that clears triglycerides from the bloodstream. These processes don't require vigorous exercise. They require movement at regular intervals. Number 1. Break up sitting every 30 minutes. This is the intervention with the most consistent evidence base. Set a timer, stand up, walk to another room, do 5 minutes of gentle movement. The specific activity matters less than the regularity. The goal is to prevent the body from settling into prolonged metabolic stillness. Number 2, incorporate more standing into your daily routine. Standing maintains baseline muscle activation and blood flow in ways that sitting does not. A standing desk, or simply choosing to stand during phone calls and television, can meaningfully reduce total daily sitting time. Research has found that replacing 2 to 4 hours of daily sitting with standing is associated with lower inflammatory markers, improved blood sugar regulation, and reduced cardiovascular risk. Number 3, reframe what counts as physical activity. The gym session matters, but so does every other choice throughout the day. Taking stairs, parking further away, walking while on phone calls. These choices accumulate into a meaningfully different daily activity profile. Research on non-exercise activity thermogenesis has found that differences in daily movement habits account for significant variation in metabolic health between individuals, independent of gym attendance. Number 4, pay attention to the post-meal window. Sitting immediately after meals is when the metabolic consequences of inactivity are most acute. The muscles are primed to absorb glucose, and sitting prevents them from doing so. A brief walk after meals addresses both the sedentary behavior problem and the post-meal blood sugar problem simultaneously. Prolonged sitting is easy to overlook because it feels like nothing. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't announce itself. It simply accumulates quietly over years, while damage builds in blood vessels, metabolic pathways, and brain tissue. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need a timer and the understanding that regular brief movement throughout the day is not a minor lifestyle tweak. It is a meaningful health intervention with effects that compound over time, just like the sedentary behavior it replaces. If this was useful, hit the like button. It helps more people over 50 find content like this. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And leave a comment below. How many hours a day do you think you actually spend sitting? Most people are surprised when they add it up. We'll see you in the next one.